Hey, what's up, Entourage? You are on with Jan. Hey, what's up, Entourage? I go by the name of Yana. My friends call me Jan, and thank you all for being here with us today. And today, I have the privilege of introducing Alicia Jeffreys, the phenomenal Chief Marketing Director of the Detroit Pistons, Detroit Basketball.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you. She's a devoted mother, a loving wife, and a true inspiration for all. Alicia, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Oh, I love that. So let's just jump right into it.
Yep.
Let's jump right into it. So you work for the Pistons.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've worked for the Pistons 21 years, my entire career. Thank you. It's been great. I get to do what I love every day. And I lead a marketing team of really creative and talented people in the social media space, the live game entertainment, production, content, creative. So it's awesome to be able to do this every day of my life and get paid for it. So
that's fantastic. And talk to us a little bit about how you got into that.
Sure. I was a competitive gymnast my whole life, two-sport athlete in high school, but I did not grow past 5 feet tall.
I feel you.
You and I see eye to eye, literally.
Yes, ma'am.
On that one. But I really wanted to stay close to sports. And growing up in the city I grew up in, which is Flint, which is not far from here, it was very much a basketball-centric city. On the evenings and weekends, everybody watched basketball games. So it really cemented kind of my love for the game and sports in general. And so when I got into the University of Michigan, I had to choose, a program to focus on, and they had a sports management communications degree, which allowed me to really stay close to what I loved, but also find a way to make that my career. And here I am.
It's amazing how you kind of gravitated towards that.
For sure.
Even if maybe you weren't planning on it?
Yeah, I think people don't realize kind of like, obviously at 18, 19 years old, you're not sure what you want to do.
Not at all.
With life. You can only sort of gravitate towards the things at that point that interest you, and that's what I did. And luckily, I still, 21 years later, find huge fulfillment from that choice, which is definitely one of those pieces of advice that I give people also is, you got to make sure you're enjoying what you're doing because you're spending 80% of your day and 80% of your life, doing this job if you actually have to work, and hopefully you can enjoy it while you're doing it. So sure, I'm definitely blessed for that.
Probably even if you're not at work, you're thinking about work, right?
For sure.
And as a chief marketing executive, what all do you do?
Yeah, so I sit on the executive team for the Pistons. So I'm a part of sort of like the strategy and the direction of the organization. My focus is mostly on marketing, which means that my job with our team is to tell the story about the Detroit Pistons on and off the court. So we can build the brand and have some like fan affinity to all the things that we're doing. So our job is to kind of get the word out, storytell, and remind people why they should be excited about, a team on the court who really tries hard every night.
Wow. And you said you just celebrated 21 years.
Yes.
That is an immense amount of time.
It is.
Do you still love it as much as you did when you first started?
I do. I'd say I love it more now because my kids are actually able to sort of enjoy the job that their mom has, which is great.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So like the first half of my career was very much like career building. And it was all about like, me and doing the things that I love. And now I'm able to share that with them. And I realize, and I think they realize too, the opportunities that they get, the exposure that they get to some really cool events and game nights and promotions and things like that maybe other kids don't have exposure to. And so I'm glad they really appreciate it. And it's nice to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And by the way, those of you listening, Mama Jeffreys, as I like to call her, she has 4 daughters.
Yes.
4 beautiful daughters. And they've been a part of our dojo for going on to 2 years now.
Yes.
So we're very grateful to have you. And speaking of your kids just a little bit, I think they're all fantastic.
Thank you.
And as you mentioned, they have an incredible opportunity to be able to experience all the things that you've worked so hard for.
Yes.
So now not only are you impacting yourself because you're fulfilled with what you're doing, but you get to expose them to such cool experiences
Yes.
that they otherwise probably wouldn't have ever been able to have. Not at that age, at least.
I think absolutely. Being a mom of 4 daughters too, I think it was and is still important to me to give them a really incredible example of what they could have and or be in their life if they want to be, whether it's being a mom or being a wife or being an executive or loving sports or not loving sports, whatever it might be. I just want to make sure they have at least an example to look at, to say, okay, I can actually do things in my life that either challenge me or make me afraid. So I try to be a really good example for them.
I think you set an incredible example for everybody around you. I mean, you and I don't know each other that well,
Yep.
but even so, I can tell that you're an incredible woman that goes after her passions.
Yep.
You set a great example for your kids. And you do things that fulfill you while maintaining being a wife, being a mom, taking them to all of their activities, and still making it happen for yourself and for your family.
Yeah.
Like, if that doesn't deserve a round of applause, I don't know what does.
Well, that's really nice, but it's not easy. It's difficult to balance work and home life, and for me, it's just about sort of prioritization. Like, I just have to prioritize certain things. And people at work know that my family and kids are actually always going to win. And I'm very honest and open with that being sort of like my end goal. And it helps keep me like really grounded and like rooted in something so like natural and not forced. I just want to make sure that I am a mom and a wife first. And of course, I need my job to provide for my kids and my family. So I'm going to do all the things that I need to do for my job as well. But at the end of the day, if I had to choose, I know what I'm choosing.
I love that. I love that for you.
Yeah.
And I just want to take that piece that you said in the beginning where, like, you just do it, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you want. You know what you're after. And you're almost saying it like anybody can do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really great point to bring up. Personal fortitude is one of the things that I definitely want to instill in my children, to be able to just like pick themselves up on their own with their own bootstraps and like realize that they're the only ones who can actually make the things happen for themselves. As much as like mommy and daddy are going to help you through your life when you're little and we're providing for you, I want to make sure very early on they understand that they have to have the personal fortitude to like accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish. There's nothing that I or my husband can do to do that for them. So I definitely want, that's definitely one thing I want to instill in them early.
I think you guys, whatever you're doing to do that, I think you can definitely see it on the mat at the dojo when they're here.
Nice.
They're driven, they're focused, they have a positive attitude, which I think is a really important component of maintaining and having that fortitude to continue going, because failure is going to happen. Yeah. And it's probably going to happen more than once. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy where people talk about failure is just a way to succeed.
For sure.
And move forward, because you have to go through those things. Like, how many no's are you going to get till you get to that yes?
Yes, for sure. I tell my employees all the time, like, just fail faster.
Yes.
Like, I'm okay for you to fail. And same with my kids. I'm okay if you're going to fail. But fail faster and move on, and let's be better and change. And, I mean, I do love that the kids come to the dojo because it's a great reset for them. As much as we try to be great parents and have our routines at home, there's so many distractions outside the dojo. And when they're here, it's uber focus on themselves. I mean, I'm looking at the sign here that says, focus my eyes, my ears, my mind, my body. The real world doesn't allow people to do that necessarily, because there's so many things coming at them. The TV's on, the iPad's on, their siblings are running around, there's toys, whatever it is, there's so many distractions. And when they come here, it definitely allows them to have a physical and mental and emotional reset. And so I love that. I mean, they're only 6, but my 6-year-olds definitely, they need that already, to just have like a good week. So
thank you for saying that. I have goosebumps. No, but really, I think you're absolutely right with that, because attraction to distraction really takes us away from being able to focus on ourselves and reset ourselves. And yes, they're only 6, but if you instill that mental switch for them to be able to have, it's going to be so much easier for them when they're older, and they're going to say to themselves, I'm not focusing on myself right now. I'm distracted with my emails, my phone, my iPad, my work. So I think just even having that opportunity for them to be able to have that switch and know how to use it is fantastic. So
awesome.
honestly, thank you for being here.
That's great.
I want to go back a little bit in time.
Yes.
So you've been with the Pistons for 21 years. You went to U of M and got right into Pistons.
Yes.
Walk us through the timeline of starting with the Pistons and going forward.
Yeah. Well, so I started right out of grad school with the Pistons. So really it was my first career. I had several work experiences prior to, but this was my first like legit like job.
Yeah.
So that was like the 2001-02 season for the Pistons. I came at the tail end of that season, and had a really fun, I'd say, first 6 years. We were winning. We won a championship. We were going to, if any basketball fans out there, Eastern Conference Finals every year, which is very far in the playoffs. And we had sellout crowds. So very fun way to start like a career in sports.
Oh, yeah.
People, I think, wait, 30, 40 years before they ever get to experience winning a championship with a team.
That's very cool.
Yes, it was very lucky. And then it was interesting because I had a life shift mid-career.
Tell us what happened.
So when I was at that point 27, just about to turn 28, so I was about 6 years into my career with the Pistons, I was starting to feel like uncomfortable sitting in a chair. So I was like, just having like discomfort. So I'm like, I'm going to go just get it checked out. Again, like I had mentioned, I was an athlete my whole life, competitive gymnast. So I figured probably just aches and pains, getting into my 20s. I'm not doing as much, fitness as I did growing up. So I thought maybe it was just something like that. Come to find out that they thought it was just, maybe a cyst that needed to get removed, like right in the bottom of like my spine area. So we went ahead, got that removed, and ultimately found out that it actually was not a benign cyst and it was a malignant tumor.
Oh, my.
Yes. So I turned 28, I think the day after I found out. But so at 28 years old, I was told that I was diagnosed with an ultra rare cancer of the spine. So it was bone cancer all along my spinal column.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you take that news?
Yeah, it was kind of like a giant pause button got hit on my life. And, at first it was probably like fear and sadness at first. And then it shifted to, wow, I have not done all the things in my life that I want to do. At that point, we had just gotten married. We did not have any kids. Again, I was first few years of my career. We had just bought a home. I had this overwhelming feeling that I had more to do. And so after sort of the fear and the sadness and the grieving that comes from a diagnosis like that passed a little bit, I went into like the mode of like, okay, that personal fortitude piece we talked about, what do I need to do now to like get to the other side of this? And it was a long journey.
What a dichotomy.
Yeah.
The championship, you get married.
Right.
And then boom.
Boom. It's all taken away in one instant.
Wow.
And you got to find a way to reclaim all the things that you worked so hard for.
So how did you do that?
I did it day by day, sometimes minute by minute. And when I say minute by minute, I literally mean, after surgeries, while I was healing, laying in hospital rooms alone, I would count to 60 seconds. And then I would start over and I'd count another 60 seconds just to try to get past the pain of healing. It's not always, rainbows and butterflies when you're going through cancer treatments and surgeries that can ravage your body and you have to heal. It's painful. And so I would count every 60 seconds. But that was when I realized like the only person who can get through this is me. I had really great healthcare providers, I had great nurses, great doctors, huge support from family and friends. But at the end of the day, in the middle of the night, when I'm healing in the hospital bed, it's only me. Wow. And I had to make those decisions to like that willpower to make decisions to want to live and want to get to the next minute and get to the next day to get through the treatment.
That's incredible. And you did it.
I did it.
You did it.
I did it. It took 3 years.
Wow.
3 years. I had about 7 surgeries, 116 radiation treatments. Took me 52 weeks to learn how to walk again, unassisted.
That's insane.
52 weeks of therapy. And I crossed the 10-year mark of being cancer-free.
Yes,
Yay.
let's go. Let's go. Wow. So much.
A lot. It's a lot. Sorry, I just dumped a lot on you there.
Whew. I can handle it. No, but so the 3 years that you were going through this, your initial reaction was like, wow, what is happening?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How am I supposed to navigate this?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about mentally overcoming that. How long did it take you from that initial shock to, okay, this is what I got to do?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. I'd say within a few weeks, I was ready to like, all right, let's do this. I'm like, how do I fast forward to get past this, to get back to my life? Did I think it was going to take 3 years? Absolutely not. At that point, I was like, oh, cool, 6 months of treatment, maybe 6 months of healing. We'll be back at it. Like within a year, I'll feel like myself. And so 3 years was a very long time. But as you're going through treatments and you're going through surgeries, it's almost like time stands still a little bit. You don't even realize that, a year has passed, 2 years has passed, because you're just literally looking at, what's my next treatment day? When's my next surgery? How long does it take to heal? When's my next doctor's appointment? You're very much just on a schedule until there's no schedule. So.
And was it more of like a blur?
Yeah, it definitely was a blur. And then it was like the reflection after the fact when I started to like actually evaluate and I guess internalize all of that had happened. It kind of happened after the fact.
Now, you at this point, you're not a mom yet.
No.
You guys just got married.
Yes.
So talk to us about the mental obstacles you have to overcome with that.
Yeah. I always like to share with people that if you're going through this, to find like what's your North Star to find your way out of this. And so mine was very much, I wanted to be a mom. I come from a really big family. I have a great mom, and I just always, I'm like, I wanted to always be her. And
I love that. I love my mom so
Grandma's
much.
so sweet.
Oh.
The girls love Grandma too. Like
we love Grandma too.
Yes, fan favorite at our house. So I just aspired to be that in my life, and so that was always what I thought about in healing and getting to the point where I would, my body would be able to have kids, which again is a very scary thing for those going through cancer, because you have all of these treatments that, essentially sometimes they have to put poison in your body to get, if it's not a holistic treatment, to get the cancer to go away. So
what the treatments you went to, how tough were they on your body?
Yeah, I mean, they were really tough. I mean, radiation treatment, anybody who's gone through that, it's a lot of like burning on your skin. It's hard to heal because the radiation treatments are usually over like a scar, like a surgical site, which inhibits like your being able to heal your wound. Mm-hmm. So that was tough. Plus those just take time, right? It's just like day after day after day of needing that treatment. The surgeries were tough. Some of my surgeries lasted 12 hours at a time, where for me, because it was on my spinal column, they had to completely remove 2 of my vertebrae. So it's not like,
wow.
It's not like just putting something on them. They had to completely take them out. So
I love how nonchalant you're being about this right now, because
you're like, wait, what?
That's insane.
Yeah, it is kind of insane. I'll have to bust out the x-rays for you at a later date. But yeah, they had to like secure my spinal column. That was like the first major surgery from the back. And then, so it's probably like a 12 to 15 inch scar along my back. Once they secured it with like hardware, they actually waited 2 weeks to like heal a little bit, and then they opened me up from the front. Sorry for anyone who's listening that does not want to hear medical terminology, but they essentially took my vertebrae out from the front because they had to secure the back. And then once they took the vertebrae out, they essentially created a cage that's a faux spinal column. So because I have a gap now of 2 bones are gone, they had to protect the spinal cord. Again, medical terms. Sorry, everyone. But I have a lot of titanium back there keeping me upright. But that's what threw me into the 52 weeks of learning how to walk again. Because you can imagine any surgery on your back, I mean, you're essentially affecting all of your movements in your legs. So it was a lot.
As we're going through this phase in your life, and you're talking about it so calmly now at this point, like, oh, I just did this, and they just took some vertebrae out.
That's cool.
How did you, they told you had to relearn how to walk. Mm-hmm. Take us back to that moment and how you felt. Yeah,
I mean, you do feel initially helpless. Like if you want the honest feeling, it feels helpless. But again, I just was so rooted in like, I remember talking to a doctor about, I want to get up and down off the floor with my kids.
Wow.
Right? I'm like 26. They're like, what do you, I'm like, yeah, I literally want, so whatever I have to do to be able to get up and down off the floor with my children, I'm doing it. So so those were just the type of things like mentally that I had to like think about. And, I have shared before with others an acronym for hope.
Tell us.
I've always I started writing it down when I was like journaling during this process. But so I have an acronym. So HOPE for hope, how ordinary people endure.
Wow. Say tell them again
I'll tell them again and then I'll give you context. So
Please.
How ordinary people endure. So a lot of people, friends and family, very well-meaning, would always say like, you're my hero, you're such a warrior, you're so strong, and you do not feel strong. Like I was 80 pounds of nothing. I couldn't eat. I was in constant pain. I'm like, what hero and what warrior are you looking at? Because, I didn't feel that. And I just started to realize that I was just an ordinary person who had to endure through something. And my hope was rooted in, just being able to get through, again, to be a mom. But yeah, I was just an ordinary person trying to endure.
You're a superhero now.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
But it's such a crazy, I have never had this experience, obviously.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably won't experience this. And
True.
Most people will never experience the exact thing you went through, ever.
Absolutely.
And just taking a second and talking about how you actually felt in that moment, like now you're past it, you're happy, you're fulfilled, you're grateful.
Yeah.
But how you felt back then and how it all changed and how you feel now, I think that's such a valuable way to look at it, because you said you had to learn how to walk again.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a great metaphor for everything you've just been saying about I had to find a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would say that I appreciate every day that I am able to walk, and the moments when I'm like complaining or having a hard day, I'm like, what is wrong with you? You just went through a ton. Like, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. But so even someone who has gone through something incredible, who's gotten to the other side of it, who in general has a decent attitude, and still having those moments where I'm not grateful and where I'm not having that personal fortitude. I still have to remind myself. So it's still a work in progress. Yes, I'm very thankful that I've made it past all these moments, but I just have to realize how much I actually went through so that I can appreciate, even the hard times today.
It's funny that you say that. You have to make yourself think about that when that was the only thing that was on your mind. Like, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
But also, just the fact that you still have moments like you have to remind yourself of, look, what am I doing?
Right.
Because we're human.
Yeah.
And things throughout the day will take our emotions and feelings, and they might be minute, especially compared to what you went through.
Right.
And you still have to be able to say, like, listen, what is going on here?
Yes. Yes. I can get through this.
And I want to touch on something you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
You said something along the lines of, I got the news, and I felt like I still had so much more to do and accomplish.
Yeah.
And for people that are listening that maybe aren't going through something as incredibly emotionally taxing, physically taxing as this, what would you say the importance of going after your goals, even when there isn't an obstacle so huge like something you went through? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think people have to decide what they want their life to be. And one of the things that I share with employees who are trying to make big decisions about like their careers, or, you know, they want to talk about compensation or title or things like that. I always sort of use this saying that I've used forever, but I always loved it when someone shared it with me. It was, you know, the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, you're like, well, yeah, that makes total sense. But people don't think of it that way. They kind of are always looking, especially in the world of social media, which I didn't have, you know, growing up or early on in my career. So I have to realize that employees just have this exposure to what they think the rest of the world is doing and getting, and all of the Instagram versus reality things that they get to see. But I try to pour into people that if you just focus on kind of where you're at, you grow in place is another phrase that we like to say. Like, spend time on that first. And then if you're like, oh, I still need to move on, great, I will support you and try to help you find your way. But I really want people first to try to sort of, you know, pour into where they're at currently.
I love that. Give us some more of these sayings. I love these.
I don't know. I might be tapped out on all my sayings, but
I love all of these.
yeah. No, I have a lot of employees that I think that I spend a lot of time with every day. So I'm trying to help. At this point in my career, I'm definitely in the phase where I'm trying to help other employees navigate sort of the workplace and their goals and help them accomplish everything that they want to do.
How about for somebody that's nervous or scared to go after something?
Yeah.
Right? They've never been in the position of, like yourself, where, oh my God, I have to go do this.
Yeah.
Because of this experience. What would you say to people like that?
I think fear is and can be a natural motivator, because once you realize what you're afraid of, you at least now have an understanding.
Yeah.
You know, you have some clarity. You're like, oh, this is something that's a challenge for me. And I would just say, listen, understand why it's a challenge, try to work through why it's a challenge. And I think the reward, the fulfillment of getting through something that you're fearful of doing or trying, is so much more valuable once you get past it. Like, people will begin to realize, you know, the fulfillment and satisfaction they get from actually accomplishing something they were afraid to do. So
I love that. I have a little acronym for you.
Oh, yeah.
FEAR. False evidence appearing real.
See, I love that. See, so yes, it's definitely like risk versus reality.
I love that.
Right?
Say it again.
No, so risk versus reality. Like, the risk of the fear is actually probably not in reality as big as you think it is once you actually try or go through it. So there, risk versus reality.
Yes. So I like to, first of all, risk versus reality. I love that a lot. I think that's such an important part of one, success and achievement, and the other part of overcoming something that you're afraid of. Mm-hmm. Because on the other side of that fear is the fulfillment.
Yeah.
And you're never going to attain that fulfillment if you stay on that side of fear.
Yeah.
And
you'll never know.
You'll never know.
Yeah.
And I feel like you owe it to yourself to know.
For sure.
And
I agree.
It's incredible. I also like to point out how, you know, a lot of people go through tough things, whether it's cancer, whether it's something in a relationship, whether it's a different tough time. And not everybody makes it out of it mentally.
Sure.
the way that you did.
Yeah.
And I think that's so incredible. Do you have anything to say about how you did it, where you are now, and anything else you'd like to add?
A lot of self-reflection to get to that point. Like I had mentioned, going through it, you don't feel like you're doing anything amazing and incredible, and you don't have time to self-reflect. So it definitely happened after the fact when I am now, looking at my 4 little ones, and I'm like, wow, like they're here. We made it through. One of the things, though, that I would hope people would understand is that most things in life are very temporary, meaning they continue to evolve and grow. And I think we forget that. So what I'm trying to get at is when I look at my kids, every single day they learn something new. They grow a little bit taller. They're trying something different. It's not like there's a point in time in your life when that ends. Right? Yes. And so I'm 43, everyone, just for the record. I think people all of a sudden they're like, this is what my life is. And I'm like, at what point in time did you stop like growing, changing? Sure, I didn't grow past 5 feet tall. Okay, so I guess I did physically stop growing, but you grow in a different way. And I'm like, it just never stops. And so I would hope that people can find a way to understand that their situation can be temporary, can change, can evolve, because that's how we are. We grow, we age, we learn. So my children are a good reminder of that for me, that I can continue to grow and learn and change and be better. And even physically, there's challenges that I'm having now from late onset stuff from my cancer treatments. They can still be temporary, or they can be certain pieces can be permanent, but the situation around it can be temporary and can evolve and change.
And you can change that situation by changing yourself.
For sure.
Like you said,
For sure.
At what point did you say, okay, I'm going to stop growing, learning,
right,
being a kid in some aspects, right?
Yeah.
Like in karate, we call that a white belt mentality.
Oh,
and you always want to maintain that white belt mentality because
you have more to achieve.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I've always thought martial arts and personal development and self-development are really in alignment with one another, because you have to look at life the same way as that white belt mentality.
Yeah.
I have to find aspects that are going to help me look at things differently. Like for you, you said you look at your kids and you're like, wow, they're changing all the time. They're getting better all the time. And I don't have to stop just because I'm not taller than 5 foot. Right. And I'm not going to physically grow any taller. But your personality can.
Yeah.
Your mindset can.
We're never a finished product, I guess. We're not. Till that last day, till that last breath, you literally are never going to be finished until that moment. So
and going back to distractions and things like that, and it's so easy to get caught up in those and not look at the situation the way that you're looking at it, of overcoming things.
Yeah.
But then growing. You're so past how did you say that a few minutes ago? You're not in your
I don't know.
You said I'm not in my cancer season.
Oh yeah, yes. I'm not in cancer season. I'm in mom season now.
Yes.
I was in career season. Listen, lots of things blend at the same time.
Sure.
But my focus now is just raising good little humans. Right? There's so many not great humans in the world these days.
I know it.
So that's literally my goal. I'm like, how can I raise kids that, now having lots of employees, I'm like, how can I raise kids that would be great employees to a manager or whatever it is? I'm like, I want my kids to have all of the skills and necessary tools to be good people, have great personal fortitude, and yes, that's all I want.
I just think it's so cool that you're working so hard at setting such a great example, and you do, and then you have 4 little girls that you get to inspire.
I hope.
And drive, and they're looking at it.
Yeah, for sure.
And for me, from my mom, for example, she's always set such a great example. I love both of my parents, but since we're talking about moms,
yes,
values are caught, not taught.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that my mom would always do for me or with me, and the way that she set an example wasn't, in a traditional manner, sit me down and explain things to me.
Yeah.
She just was who she was.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool that's how your outlook is, because they're looking at it the same exact way, even if they don't realize like what you're doing yet.
Yeah.
When they're 20, when they're 25, it's going to hit them and they're going to be like, wow, mom's a superhero.
We can only hope that happens.
And by the way, they're all amazing. I love their attitudes. They're always
sweet
smiling.
girls. Yeah. We're definitely really blessed with the little ones that we have. They're sweet girls.
For anybody listening, what advice would you give them if they're going through something tough?
You know, I think you just have to rely on, really strong foundations of family and friends are important, but you're going to have to rely on yourself at the end of the day. And people don't necessarily like to hear that.
No.
You know, they don't want to hear that. You just have to do it on your own. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily what I'm saying. Like, there's going to be lots of people that can help you. But at the end of the day, it's that we keep saying it, that personal ability, personal fortitude to make decisions that you want to change your circumstance, or you want to get better, or you want to get through something, because nobody else can do it for you, unfortunately. And I think there's lots of value in that. There's lots of fulfillment in being able to do things on your own. Of course, lean on family and friends, but you're just going to have to do things on your own sometimes, and you'll be better for it, I think.
The responsibility's on you.
Yeah.
On all of us, on ourselves. I love that. I think martial arts does a really great job of instilling that lesson at a pretty early timeline, from the beginning of when you start, because you're responsible for your achievement. You're responsible for your own journey.
Yeah.
And every step of that journey, because I can't get that stripe for you. Yep. I can't take that exam for you.
No.
You got to do it for yourself, and then you can see you can do it.
Yeah.
And then you build that fortitude by just doing those little things. And like you said, fail faster.
Fail faster. It's okay to fail.
Yes, it is okay to fail.
It's okay to fail.
Yes. And I think it's such a valuable thing. Everything that you said.
Yeah.
But I think the fortitude piece,
mm-hmm.
I think the failure piece, in making yourself grow.
Yeah.
Just reassess.
Reassess. You can always change. You can always be better, do better.
I love that. And you're still growing.
Oh, yeah.
People, this woman is on a juice cleanse. She walked in, she said, I'm on the juice cleanse today.
Just today. Tomorrow I may not be committing to that, but just today.
But she's still working on getting better.
I'm trying.
So just a quick recap of all the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
You went to school. You graduated. Got into the Pistons. Championships were won.
Yeah.
You got married. Boom. You got hit with a life-altering
mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
Your attitude and your drive got you through that. And even those tough days where you were like, I can't, and you were counting the seconds.
Just counting the seconds.
You got through all of those things because of your attitude,
mm-hmm.
your positive mental attitude, the responsibility you placed on yourself, saying, I got to do this. And having that outlook of like, I want to have children.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a mom that can do this, this, and this. And having that visualization for yourself, I think is so incredible. I thank you so much for sharing this story and taking the time to be here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's give her a round of applause. Thanks, Mama Jeffreys.
Thank you.